Welcome along to Talkin Comics, a cup of tea with Englishman in San Diego. My name's Leonard Sultana. I've got my brew, and I'm ready to have a bit of a chat with two brilliant creators who are taking on a British legend when it comes to comics. We have got ourselves Artist Wonderkind. We've got Marc Laming, who's joining us. Hello there, Mark. Hello there.
Hi there.
Surrounded with books and reference materials and all sorts of stuff.
Oh yeah.
That looks like the kind of room that I would just dive into, frankly.
Well, there's not enough room to dive into it. It's literally books falling on me.
Oh, good Lord. It looks, I mean, I also see a couple of mugs there as well, but I don't know what brew you've got to hand, but thank you very much indeed for joining us. And we also have writer, editor, and creative super kind, Alex De Campi. Hello there, Alex. Welcome along.
Hello. Hello.
Pleasure to have you back. Because I think the last time we had you here, I mean, we were talking about Maddie, we talked about all sorts of bits and pieces, but it's been a while. It's a pleasure to have you back on talking to us. Thank you very much indeed. But we're talking about a Kickstarter campaign and a forthcoming book that the pair of them are putting together. Although I know that we could be using this live stream to promote the Kickstarter, except it's blown past its goal already. So I think we could just pass out the flowers at this point. But thank you very much indeed for joining us to celebrate the successfully funded Dan Dare graphic novel. £20,000 goal, 22,000 at the moment with 23 days to go. Congratulations.
We're very happy about it. I'm just like I'm compulsively refreshing the total. It happens when you're on Kickstarters. Even though we're already funded, because like the more we get funded, we're going to announce some stretch goals soon, and the more we get funded, like the more we can just carry on and start working on book 2. 22,000. And you know, we've announced some pretty amazing stuff over the past couple weeks. We're doing a hardcover version and a soft cover version. The soft cover artist is Chris Weston, who knows his way around Dan Dare. And the hardcover artist is J.H. Williams III, who knows his way around pretty much everything, you know, a bit like Jerry Ordway, man can draw anything. And he's really excited to take this on. He's actually working on the cover at the minute because he's got some time in between other stuff. So not only do we have Mark's gorgeous line work and truly stunning colors by Michael Woods, who was a colorist who was new to me, but he's just like so well suited to Mark's very open line work, which not a lot of colorists are. Some people try to over render him, and that makes my heart sad. Probably makes Mark's heart sadder. But Michael's really just perfect for space stuff.
So lucky with Michael. It would, you know, whenever it comes to color, I always have a nightmare. It's like I know what I want, and I could do it myself, but then the book would take forever. But we found Michael, who understands lighting, he understands color. He's also just that level of saturation of the original Frank Hampson pages as well.
Well, that's what I was going to kind of lead into. I mean, I do want to talk about history and how the team came together and all that, but we might as well just jump in with that kind of legacy of Dan Dare, because it always was a very rich, beautifully painted character, especially with the original Eagle strips and the original books back in the day. I mean, Alex and Mark, you're just saying there how the colours very much complement that original tone of the original. I mean, where would you say that you're aiming in terms of the Dan Dare legacy of kind of like the feel and the richness of the book that you're putting together?
Oof. I mean, we're walking a very thin line, as you have to with these things. I mean, Dan Dare's been rebooted many, many times. Like, there's the 2000 AD one, there was the Grant Morrison one, there was a Peter Milligan one, there was the Garth Ennis one, and now it's us. I think one of the, I mean, just in terms of how we're approaching it from a story basis, and I think this reflects the art as well, is we're not trying to continue the Dan Dare story, which is pretty much what most of our predecessors have done, except for 2000 AD. Because by continuing it, we're making people assume they have to understand it understand the legacy and the continuity. And a lot of people do. I am one of those people. Mark is another one of those people. However, it can be off-putting to a younger generation because they're like, I have to understand all of, like, it's like that Marvel movie fatigue thing. Like, I have to understand, you mean I have to understand all of this before I get to that? Star Wars has a bit of this problem too, I think, these days. And so what we did was just approach it like, we're going to do a classic, do classic Dan Dare, great big science forward, exciting space adventure with really strong emotional arcs and a lot more darkness than you give it credit for, but set, in a world as we imagine it from today, rather than from, the sort of the post World War II, late 50s of Frank Hampson. And the characters are very true to Dan Dare. They're all there, but we tweaked elements of the story and the world to kind of better fit looking forward from 2026 versus looking forward from 1956. And we're essentially doing in like an ultimate Dan Dare. This is chapter 1. You don't have to understand, you don't have to understand a thing about Dan Dare. If you like stories about spaceships and British people having their own spacecraft, and having adventures in space, you should read this book. If you like suspense, if you like thrills, if you like action in space, this book is for you. You don't have to know anything about Dan Dare. If you do know things about Dan Dare, you're going to see that we're a pair of goddamn nerds, and you'll start picking up little pieces here and there of like, oh, this is from that, and that's from that, and oh, okay, so it's as I say, it's a very fine line. I think Mark is obviously here to speak for himself, but I think he reflects, for me, he's reflecting that in the art too. He's not trying to be Frank Hampson, because like Frank Hampson, like we have Frank Hampson at home, and also yikes, that's tough. But there is, an openness in the line work that reminds me of Frank Hampson, that's still Mark's own personal style. And there's a facility with the environment that Frank Hampson was so good at, and design, a very striking design, and the acting of the characters. Frank was all like essentially photographing it and doing like and doing it from like real life posing. Mark isn't going that far, but he's naturally very, very good with human motion and facial expression and the acting of the characters. So there's a lot there, but this is not meant to be a retro book. This is a right now book. I mean,
it sounds like you know and you understand the lore very deeply indeed. We might as well ask the big obvious question. Until we'll ask Mark first. Let him jump in and have a moment to camera. Your introduction to Dan Dare, when was that? I mean, for me, I may look it, but I'm not old enough to remember the original Dan Dare strips. I was very much when it got reintroduced with the relaunched Eagle in 1982. Mark, for yourself, when did you get introduced to the character?
Well, my dad read Eagle, so I was lucky in that I was encouraged to read comics as a kid. So, you know, from reading things like Play Hour and Pippin and stuff like that, I then moved on to TV21, which had all of the Jerry Anderson stuff in it. And as I was getting more and more obsessed with that, Dad would start talking about Dan Dare, and I think he pulled out a puzzle that he had from when he was a kid, which is of the Venusian embassy party at the beginning of Reign of Robots, I think it is. So I had that first, and then 2000 AD relaunched with Dan Dare. Now, my dad didn't approve of that at all because he didn't look like Dan Dare. You know, none of the ships were right. He looked like some sort of David Bowie knockoff. He then turned up at home with a Best of Evil book and said, "This is Dan Dare." So that was my introduction.
Very cool. For yourself, Alex, I mean, as a not Brit, how did you get introduced to the character?
I'm going to start bringing my British passport to these interviews.
Really?
Naturalized British citizen.
Okay.
So as a Brit, I discovered it much later. I think I was in my early 30s, and I picked up a bunch of old Dan Dare, like collected editions at, you know, like a secondhand comic shop, possibly in the UK. I can't remember where. Might have been that one down the bottom of Notting Hill Gate, where there's a like a secondhand comics
Book exchange.
Book exchange, yes, book and record exchange. So sadly, fewer records than it used to be. And then I found them again. I moved house in end of 2023, and our house is, you can see the house. It is old for America, and it doesn't have any bookshelves or anything. So like I was having to just to get rid of the boxes, because I have so many books and so many boxes of books, that I was like just piling books in piles in various rooms. Like, this is where I'm going to keep all my graphic novels, and this is where I'm going to keep my nonfiction. And I pulled out Voyage to Venus and was like, oh, I haven't read this in a minute. And I sat down and read it again, sitting on my floor. That was all that got done for the rest of the afternoon. I unpacked like half a box and then just sat there and read comics for the rest of the day. It was great. First of all, like, yes, thank you. Fabulous way to spend an afternoon. Second of all, I was just like, why isn't anyone why are we not talking about this? Like, these are really these are great comics, and you have to go back and look at them again to be like, yes, they are fantastic. Like, why are we not, why isn't this as big as like Star Wars? And so I emailed the licensor and was like, hey, can I do a graphic novel of this? And they were like, all right. I mean, that's simplified, it's a slightly longer process.
I mean, when I was growing up,
you know, so I kind of
when I was growing up, it was very much a case of Dandy, Beano, Eagle. It was like, and the Commando. There were like those tent poles of what British comics were, and the Eagle was definitely there, and Dan Dare was there, and certainly for me growing up, it was one of those tentpole characters. And you're right, it does seem in certainly the last 15, well, since the CG animated series stopped, the conversation about Dan Dare just went away. But what makes Dan Dare for you a character that is that tentpole of British comics?
Mark, you want to go first? I keep yapping.
I think he embodies adventure. It's not as colonial as people think, which is always a good thing. It is a little bit, but not as much as Bryce Burroughs, for instance. But I think, you know, it's just good rattling adventure comics, and we need more of those.
Ben's got a cool spaceship when he goes on adventures. Like, come on, and he has like cool friends. It's
and cool baddies. I mean, come on, let's be. The fact that we have not mentioned Big Baldy himself yet.
Big Baldy's not actually in this book. Okay, so I like full disclosure. Big Baldy like happens later. Like, we're thinking of this as like a 3-book series. Like, each book is like 80 pages of graphic novel and then like 20 pages of sketches and extras. Yeah, we don't hit you in the face with Big Baldy immediately. Like, the first contact is not with the Mekon or the Treens; it's with something else, and is still a classic Dan Dare alien. And Marc finished the redesign for them. He did one design, and I'm like, this is good, but it could be more nightmarish. Can you be weirder? And he's like, yes, and he sends me back something. And I looked at it right because of the time difference. Right before I went to bed, I'm like, Marc, I'm gonna have nightmares about this. This is scary. Well done. Let's run with it.
Well, I mean, okay, there's another question then, because I also remember it as very much a older teens book, or certainly kind of like 13, 14 kind of book, or a character. Certainly because of, well, frankly, the Eagle was very much middle class. It was the polite comic to read, but Dan Dare was kind of like that bolt of energy that kind of like made him the headliner of that book. Where are you pitching your graphic novel series? Where are you taking 2026, Dan Dare? It's a bit nightmarish, you just said.
It's still really great for that like 13 to 15 age group. Like, I mean, it's for everyone. Like, it's, I mean, everyone reads everything these days, but you can, the questions I get is, can I get this for my 12-year-old? Yes, you can. Like, right. There are scary bits, but also a lot of my writing is informed by having grown up watching like Japanese space anime, and then reading a shit ton of manga. So, there are ways to weaponize emotional arcs that make things much scarier than they would otherwise be. There's not like, you don't need a lot of the previous Dan Dare stuff. Like, the writers have kind of been making it about themselves and like stamping their imprint on Dan Dare, and like, he's old and sad now, or like he's this or he's that. And I kind of haven't done that in a way. I've just like made it Dan Dare, but modern, which seems really simple, and yet no one's done it. And so, the stories are scary. But there's no gore on the page. There's no sex on the page, like there's not stuff there that triggers the age limits. However, you are likely to have an emotional reaction to the story because that's how I roll.
I'd say it's Studio Ghibli scary.
Yes.
Fair enough.
Spirited Away scary.
Or Princess Mononoke scary.
Or what's
That's quite an evocative description.
Princess Mononoke scary.
Yep, that's it. Yeah. Princess Mononoke scary is a really good explanation of it. Although there are a couple of quality blood fountains in Princess Mononoke, like just samurai movie style. Yeah. We don't
lose any heads.
No.
Fair enough. I mean, also with the original vibe of the book as well, it was also a lot of reaction shots to things happening just off camera that might have just scared the heroes, or just got a reaction of it. Very much that kind of mid-70s Doctor Who kind of vibe. Marc, are you sticking with a kind of are you going show not tell, or are you going the other way around?
Oh, both. Where it's appropriate, you don't show it. When it's appropriate, you do show it.
Sometimes you build suspense by not showing it and then revealing it. And reaction shots are important. Naoki Urasawa wouldn't have a career if it weren't for reaction shots and cutaways. And I mean that in the most complimentary way. He's amazing.
Because one thing Marc is absolutely fantastic with is his character work and his the drawing of some fantastic in his acting when it comes to his art. There you go. We're talking about you, not to you, Mark. But there you go.
Okay.
Bit of smoke up your ass. We talked there a little bit about redesign, though, and where are you? What's your approach been then to the original artworks and the original design? And you talked about Frank Hampton and his influence on what you're doing. Where are you going with redesign and how you sculpt the world of Dan Dare for this new iteration?
Well, I mean, he's still pilot of the future, but we have a different future now to just after the war in the 1950s. So Dan Dare in the Eagle and in the later Eagle still was very much a reaction to the Battle of Britain in World War II, whereas I'm thinking of this as being more Top Gun than it is The Great Escape or the Battle of Britain. With a large amount of Macross thrown in terms of the way the spaceships and stuff look.
And before we came on camera, you were turning around and saying that you were wishing that you'd perhaps gone to the technique of sculpting some 3D models so you could get the spaceships and kind of move them around. You said no. I'll do a little bit more freeform. Yeah,
I can still do all that in my head, but it's just that little bit more time consuming.
Excellent stuff. In terms of the book coming together, then, Alex, you went to the publishers. Oh, sorry, the original, the owners of the rights to Dan Dare. What was it about Mark and the rest of the creative team that made you reach out and say, "This is the book that I want to do with you"?
I've known Mark forever, and we worked together first ages ago on some Robert E. Howard stuff for Dark Horse when Dark Horse had the Robert E. Howard rights. And we've always been meaning to work together. Again, it's just been schedules and timing, and like the script wouldn't be like, I wouldn't even send Mark the script. So I'm like, this is not a Mark script. It would be people in kitchens talking, having feelings. Not that Mark can't do that, but he can do more. I kind of was like, hey, Mark, like, do you know of anyone who's like really into Dan Dare and be really into drawing a Dan Dare reboot? And he's like, me. And so I was like, yes, because I know Mark's reliable and he's, like he can draw anything and he's just a wonderful person. And it would be a nice, friendly collaboration. And then Mark knew the guys at B7 Comics, so introduced us to them. And meanwhile, I'd pretty much written the script. So I had the script entirely ready. So it would be approved by the Dan Dare Corp. And also that Mark wouldn't have to wait for pages. And then, we just started moving on it. Mark started doing sample art. We started setting up the Kickstarter and off we went.
And the rest of the creative team, colors, was that yourself, Mark, or was that you, Alex?
Well, we did a pretty extensive search for colorists, and we found a lot of people that weren't going to be suitable. We had people who couldn't fit us in their schedule. And we were, my friend Simon Goff suggested Michael Woods, and he turned out to be perfect. It was one of those really lucky things. I mean, we have very much a collaborative approach to how we do things. So, we do a back and forward with each page to make sure we're both happy with things.
Fair enough.
So, it's been really good. And Alex is lettering the book, and she always does a great job doing that. So
then it just comes back to me, and they can change anything they want, because then it's not like, oh, what will the letterer do? Like, well, the letterer is going to be editing her own script anyway. Like, if you show the original script versus the first 4 pages, like, you'll be like, oh, she changed that and that and that and that. This is also why I don't letter for anyone else, because I'm so used to just cleaning up my script and tailoring it to the art as I letter that I would start unconsciously doing that for other people. And people have said, like, Alex, will you letter my book? Your lettering is really nice. I've been like, it comes with this editing service. It's like Gemini, you can't turn it off. I'm just going to accidentally just that should go in the other balloon. And like, this needs a little sound effect. And that's walking all over other people's work, really. And I can't do that.
Has there been much in terms of the feedback from the Dan Dare Corp to the scripts. When you came up with the ideas, what was there any feedback from them?
They've been really supportive. They really liked it. They understood what I was trying to do almost immediately. They're like, "Oh yes, we get it. Like, take classic Dan Dare, make modern Dan Dare, still keep it fun." You know, like this is, I think, something that's been kind of missing from some of the sci-fi reboots recently. Is like, everything is terrible now. Like, let's just make things that are fun. Let's make things that are big and escapist and space opera, but it's fun. And so they got that immediately. I think the only thing they pushed back on, and Mark knew
it was the eye patch,
is Sir Hubert, who's Dan's commander of British Space Fleet. I think it's International Space Fleet. It's British Space Fleet now. Is canonically was a pilot who had a crash and is essentially now grounded, and he runs British Space Fleet. And I was like, well, if he's got a crash that's keeping him out of the air, like let's make him like visibly disabled, because visible disability in comics is good, and also realistically he wouldn't just be like walking around looking fine. I mean, invisible disabilities exist. I get it. Maybe he has steel plates in his spine or something, but visible disability in a visual novel is nice. And I was like, let's give him an eye patch, because grew up on space anime. Like, how do you make this character really cool and popular on Tumblr? Eye patch. And then the Dan Dare Corporation folks, who did not grow up on like Gotcha Man and Battle of the Planets or Space Battle Cruiser Yamato, like were like, makes him look like a bad guy. And I'm like, I could explain Tumblr to this older fellow, but I think everyone would be happier if I just don't. Yeah. Like, all right, we'll take the eye. And Mark's like, yeah, I had it on an extra layer because I knew they were going to nuke this. And I'm like, everyone is against me and my eye patch agenda.
I like the eye patch. I just knew it wasn't going to fly.
Sometimes you need to give the licensor something obvious to push back on, so they feel like they've done their job also. Because if you don't give something obvious, they will find something that they think is obvious.
We've had approval on Anastasia now as well.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, are they gonna, like, we've been sending the spaceship designs through, because they're like 3 separate spaceships that happen, that have to look very, well, 4 if you count the HMS Buttercup or whatever I called it. I should have called it the HMS Buttercup.
We can still change it.
It's okay. I think,
like 2 Gilbert and Sullivan fans going absolutely spare.
I think you've got the editor's number. I think you can give her a call. I think that can still happen.
Yeah. So yeah, there were like several spaceship designs that were happening that had to be like, they were very specifically different, so they could be seen quickly and understood as different things. So Mark was really stretching his design skills, and came up with these 4 wonderful designs, of which 2 I believe are approved by Dan Dare, and we're still waiting on the other.
No, we're approved now.
We are?
Yes.
Are they?
Yeah, they've gone with them, so we're ready to rock on that stuff. Yeah.
Okay, fabulous.
Is that something that we're going to get revealed a little bit down the line? Is that?
Well,
that seemed like a secret conversation between the 2 of you then.
Yeah, Anastasia, I almost don't want to show anybody until it happens in the book.
Anastasia happens late in the book. Anastasia is a reveal, and we're going to keep her under her like nice cover sheet to keep the dust off her. And then we've got we have the standard British Space Fleet interceptors with like they're like stubby little, like, slightly old-fashioned British, like still working, but but we don't have the money to upgrade it, kind of like government space interceptor, which still look really great, but they're meant to be kind of slightly more utilitarian. So when you get the Anastasia, the equivalent of like going from a Mini Cooper to an Aston Martin, like you notice. We've got a space freighter, the fugitive HMS Buttercup, and then we've got Digby's ship, because Digby has a spaceship, at least in the beginning.
Well, that's going to lead me on to the question then, and I'll let Mark answer this one, because Dan Dare did have and does have an incredible array of supporting cast. Are we going to be seeing many, if not all, of our old favourites? So Digbert, Sir Hubert. Are we going to be seeing Professor Peabody? Who are we going to be seeing?
We'll be seeing everybody except the Flamer, pretty much. Who was the wee lad that was a cadet in the Space Corps. So
fair enough.
But we've got Digby's back, who's an engineering genius, and we've got Pierre's in there, and
Hank,
and obviously Professor Peabody, who's badass to the extreme. She's the one who walks around making everybody else look stupid throughout the book.
And she doesn't care either. She's like not trying to make herself smaller to fit in a male environment. She's not necessarily badass in like a kicking and punching way. She's a badass in like, you morons, sit down, let me figure this out kind of thing. I mean, she does have some physical stuff that happens, but it's not, that's not her thing. She's not Atomic Blonde. That was never her thing.
Yeah, she's the adult in the room.
Yes. And Digby and Dan are not the adults in the room for like in slightly different ways. And Digby was probably the biggest change in that Digby was traditionally Dan Dare's batsman, and he was a middle-aged guy from Wigan who was like somewhat comedy relief throughout of it. And that was like people traditionally struggled with what to do with Digby, because he's, like you don't have the concept of like, enlisted personal servants in.
Yeah.
I mean, you sort of like a little bit do in the Guards, but like, like you don't really have it understood in mainstream society anymore, because it's not really something that happens in the British Armed Forces, barring, that some of the household regiments. So what we did, and being that he was like, he's this comedy relief character, you sort of have to keep him white, because otherwise if you make him any other race, he becomes kind of minstrelsy. And not that we had an agenda about that or anything, but one of the things when you revamp a character is you think through all of the potential ways you could do it. And he's still from Wigan. He's still working class, because those things are really, really important in this book. I mean, Dan Dare is canonically went to public school, and Sir Hubert is called Sir Hubert, so chances are he did too. And we just made Digby younger, and he's still kind of disorganized, and he's still like kind of funny, but not quite in the minstrelsy way he was before. He's just a young working class inventor who's like trying to get off Earth for reasons that are fairly clear in the first few pages of the book. And then he and Dan and Peabody kind of all end up together and end up with a very significant problem to solve. Otherwise, the Earth is kind of hosed. So that's briefly, how they work together. Like, Digby's great at engineering, but also is the person. Do you remember the submarine, the private submarine that went down to see the Titanic and went pop?
Yeah.
I forget what it was called. And it was controlled with like a Logitech controller. That's the kind of engineer.
Control with a PlayStation controller.
Yeah, that's the kind of engineer Digby is. He's like, if he can 3D print it and hook a PlayStation controller up to it, he's good. And Dan's like, this is so dangerous.
I've got to apply this.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. I know that we kind of want to keep it a nice condensed conversation, so we'll kind of wrap it up with a couple of questions, certainly about the campaign and about the books. You're talking a 3-book campaign. You're on.
Yes.
This is on book number 1, which is the first of the 3.
But I will
Is it an
emphasize
ongoing-
it comes to a conclusion. Like, it's not like it's going to leave you on a cliffhanger and we may or may not get our
That's the question I was
Like,
going to ask. Yeah, is
it
it
is-
an ongoing?
a complete story with a complete satisfying ending. However, there are some little bits that we can build on for a second book.
Excellent stuff. And the plans for book 2 and 3, is that in mind already, or are you focusing very much on book 1 at the moment?
I mean, we've got to finish
And is
making book 1. The script's done. You know, Marc's hard at work on the art. He's finished most of the heavy lifting on the design and the first few pages, which have been really tough because look at his backgrounds. I didn't spend a lot of time going into the situation in the world that you're going into. I just had Marc draw it. So like, he had to draw a lot of it. Now most everything's in space or soon to be on Mars. So simpler backgrounds.
And Marc, where are you with your production of the pages? Because I know that you've done the first 4. You're on 5, 6, and 7 or something.
First 5 are now. The first 5 are coloured and lettered and drawn by me.
Wow.
I should have pages 7 and 8 penciled by tomorrow. And
you barrel along, because I know that you're aiming on this book coming out Q4 of this year. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm planning on having the art wrapped for August. So,
and I'm going to letter as we go, just because otherwise it's a lot. I'm the world's slowest and least efficient letterer.
Are you looking at a book a year then? Is that the general?
I mean,
direction?
Fear lips to God's ear, but I would say a book every 18 months to 2 years. Like, if we get really overfunded, like, even though we're funded, like, I would urge people to get their friends to buy books as gifts, get some patches, like get that nice J.H. Williams covered hardback. Because the more we fund, the more we can just roll straight into book 2.
Yeah, because obviously, the more we overfund, the more confidence the publisher will have in moving forward. So yes, the book's going to happen, but it could happen bigger and better with more pledging.
Well, I mean, you've got yourself a fantastic partner in that regard, because I did support Maddie Once Upon a Time as a book, and I mean, the one thing B7 do are gorgeous looking books. I'm very much looking forward to seeing the complete book, because yes, I am a backer. I'm very much looking forward to seeing this.
Oversized, like classifies their Trigon Empire sized, if you know.
Oh yeah, well that's Trigon Empire is my jam. Absolutely, Trigon Empire is my jam. I'm very much down for this. But it's been really cool to talk to you about what we're going to be expecting to see from Dan Dare going forward. I'm really excited about the idea of the approach you're taking, especially, like you say, we've had creators kind of imprint their own sensibilities on Dan Dare, when Dan Dare really can stand as a character and as a tentpole of British comics. And I'm really excited to see it. And yeah, okay, I'm maybe a little bit disappointed that we're not seeing the Mekon just yet, but I'm sure he'll show his bonds further down the line, and I'm looking forward to it.
The story sets us up to get to the Mekon, and as you read through the story, like, it makes perfect sense why it happens as it does. And the book 1 aliens are memorable, very memorable.
Excellent. So the book is going to be coming out through B7. It's being on Kickstarter right now. I'm going to put that up on the screen. Do go and follow the campaign. It's funded at the moment with 23 days to go at the time of our conversation. But some great stretch goals on the way, and that will be all announced on the Kickstarter page. So please do follow that along. Mark, Alex, thank you so much indeed for talking to me, and all the very best, not only with the rest of this campaign, but also with books 2 and 3 going forward. Thank you so much indeed for joining me.
Well, thank you.